This is the part of the breakfast. Whoops. There we go. Test. Test. Is it actually on? Hello? Okay. You just got to get right in it. This is the part of the prayer breakfast where we start streaming and making the recording. So please behave. You know, anything you've done up to now is fine, but from here on out, you have to behave. Those recordings, of course, are free on YouTube and Facebook. We no longer have the interactive Zoom Zechariah, so that's the only thing you've got if you missed it here. Okay, we fixed the technical problem. On your table, you'll see some yellow surveys. Those are for people that have never filled out a survey before. If you filled out a survey before and nothing's changed, please don't fill one out. But if you've never filled out a survey before, please do so sometime this morning, and we'll collect them at the end of the day. The charity outreach for Zechariah is to invite men who need something like this, but the cost of the breakfast is a problem. I just want you to know that the cost of the breakfast is not only not a problem because of your generosity, and so please feel free to invite people that you know in your parish that might fit that bill, that really could use this, but the cost of the breakfast might be a problem. And just bring them along. They won't have to pay anything for the breakfast. Don't take your badges home with you. Your badges and your, hello. It's working differently now. Don't take your badges and your lanyards home with you. Just put them all over there on the table when you get done. Oh, okay. Apparently there's going to be leftovers today. And you need to see Lynn Lang over here. Okay. That means second breakfast is over, guys. Or it'll be over after you make your last trip there. But yeah, you can help us by taking some with you. I'd like to recognize, because they're busy, I'm not going to make them come up here and take a bow, but I want to really appreciate the work that our kitchen helpers do and the music ministry. Let's give them a hand. We also have a prayer ministry, intercessory prayer, by people that are trained to do it. At the end of the breakfast, you need to see Tom Bayer. Tom, raise your hand. Where is Tom? There he is. You need to see Tom Bayer, what, at the back of the room? Yeah. Back of the room to get that prayer. I highly recommend it. Our upcoming breakfasts are on July 29th. We're still lining up the presentation for that. And October 28th, where we'll have the guys from Whiskey Wednesdays come. I think 4 of them are coming. So I have to give them 4 free breakfasts. But we'll be able to hear what goes on at their thing, because that's our focus this year, is learning about other men's groups. I need to ask at this point, was there anybody who needed help getting a ride home today? Can we facilitate that now, or? Okay. If you do, come see me pretty soon so we can set that up. David Claybrook, one of our members, where's David? There he is going to come up now and tell us what those flyers are on the table. and about National Prayer Day. So please give a big welcome to David Claybrook. Come on up.
Appreciate that, Gary. Thank you very much. Yes, you have flyers talking about the National Day of Prayer, which is coming up a week from this Thursday on the May 4th. And on the back, you'll see a lot of locations. They're mostly at city halls. And if your location is not there, if you look on the front, you can see the gatewayndp.net is the website for the local region. And you can go onto that website and possibly locate something, closer to you. And we do hope you'll come out. It's at noon, and people are praying all over the nation at the same time. Of course, time zones are different, but all over the nation on that day. And we're praying for righteousness, because prayer fervently in righteousness and avail much. So we're praying for our nation and several other things as well. There will be prayer guides for you as you come. I want to say just one other thing very quickly. And if you have a pencil or pen, I'd like you to write this website down. There is a local website that lists prayer events all over the region. And we want to start listing this event. And that website is ONE City, One City One, WON. One City One, ONECITYWON.com. And if you'll go onto that website, you can scroll down to see community prayer events that are going on all over the region. All right? God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Gary.
Were you going to let folks set up at the end?
Well, I've got a book. I don't know.
Okay, tell them
Huh?
about it.
Oh, I was told to bring a book that I've written. You might be interested in it. It's called The Double Cross. And I was in Israel a few years ago, and I was in the basement of Caiaphas's house, and I found out that basement is a dungeon, actually a prison. And the thought occurred to me, what would have happened if Jesus, while they were doing the monkey trial upstairs, Jesus and Barabbas was there at the same time. And so the double cross is a look at the Passion Week of Christ through the eyes of Barabbas. And I'll be in the back. If you'd like a signed copy, I'll be happy to help you with that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's going to be where you picked up your badges. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, David. We sometimes do petitions here, but we're running a few minutes behind, so we're going to move those to the end. And actually, it's probably better there anyway, because I'm not sure with some of the petitions whether you want that captured on the recording for life. I would hesitate to do that unless I ask you first. So we'll probably always be doing the petitions at the end from here on out. And now it's my pleasure to introduce to you Dan Gettemeier, a man you probably already know. He's incredibly useful around the Catholic Renewal Center and doing all kinds of things. And he's come here today to tell us about the Christian Coffee Companions, a new thing they just started, which is a lot like a Zechariah, except it happens once a month. It's free, and it's just coffee and men. Or people that identify as men? Okay. It's just coffee and men. We've always been open to women anyway, so please welcome Dan Gettemeier.
Test, test, test. A little closer. Wow. I'm going to go back and forth the whole time. Okay. It's up to you in charge of the technical things to make this work. Well, as Gary had mentioned, my name is Dan Gettemeier. I've been married to my wife, Carol, for 48 years. We have 3 daughters, and we have 6 grandchildren. And we've been a member of St. Norbert's Parish in Far North County for 35 plus years. And soon may also, is it working now? Okay, kind of. Also, I've been involved with the charismatic renewal from almost the very beginning. So I was a teenager then, and that's going to be a little bit about my story here in a few moments. As Gary had mentioned, and I just kind of want to reiterate the fact that the 3rd Saturday of the month is when we're having this coffee. And I would ask anyone who's interested in that to send an email the day before or the week before and just say if you're coming. And I simply enough just need to know if we have enough donuts or to bring enough donuts. So we will have coffee and donuts. Otherwise, I guess we'll get on with my story. My story, I think, might be a lot of your fellas' stories also. But the theme of this is that God never gives up. So I made a mention a moment ago about the fact that I was involved with a charismatic renewal as a teenager. I'm not so sure that I would say that I was involved because my parents were involved, and so they thought for sure that I should be involved. Well, as a teenager, I disagreed with that. I was pretty sure that I should not be involved. After all, I went to church on Sundays. How much more religion can one possibly have in their life? So the order of the day for us kids, I was the oldest, was to rebel against mom and dad. Now, several, maybe months down the road, my grandma was also involved. She asked if I would come to a prayer meeting. And you can tell mom and dad no, but you can't tell grandma no. So I agreed to go, and it was held at Visitation Academy, which is where they were meeting, or at least the larger groups were meeting at the time. And I walked into this room, and there was, I don't remember the room, but it was a room every bit the size of this one, maybe a little bit larger, but there was hundreds and hundreds of people in there. I've never seen so many old people in all my life. I mean, my God, they must have been in their 40s and their 50s. Whew. So anyway, I went in there with my mind already made up that I was not going to listen. I was not going to hear anything. I was not going to accept anything. All I wanted to do was put in my time and be done with it. That way, hopefully my parents then would get off my back. So as the evening went on, we started with praise and worship. From there, I think there was a speaker, and then after that, we broke into small groups. And there was many, many, many small groups. And I happened to be in one. My grandma was also in that one. And it was pretty much like she grabbed me by the ear and walked me over and said, "Sit down." And I sat down. She said, "We're going to pray for the baptism of the Holy Spirit." And my first thought is whatever. I already was baptized. I don't know why I have to go through this again. And she's pretty much like, "Zip it up and sit down." And I did. So we got done with that. And she says, "Okay, now we're going to pray for the gift of tongues." And I'm like, "Oh, brother, now we got to go through more stuff here." Now, I was a little bit aware of some of these gifts. because my parents were involved, and I had heard Mom and Dad at home, praying in tongues and talking about the power of the Holy Spirit, whatever that is. But I thought, well, okay, and Grandma said, sit down, we're going to pray for you, or pray with me. And they did, and sure enough, throughout the course of the prayer time, which was, 5 minutes, maybe a little bit longer than that, I noticed that there was a few utterances coming out of my mouth that were things that I didn't say, because I was definitely trying to pay attention to what I was saying, which of course we don't need to do that when the Holy Spirit's praying through us. So I noticed something, and I thought, I wonder if I received this gift. Anyway, I dismissed it rather quickly, and we went home that night. So it was a Saturday night. We were getting home late, 11 o'clock-ish. Well, as a teenager on a Saturday night, I should not be with my mom and dad. I should be out with my friends. So it was too late for that, so we went home that night. Anyway, over the next couple of weeks, I kind of pondered what happened that night, and what good is it to me, or what use could it possibly be? I mean, all of the power that they talk about, I don't need any power, I live at home with Mom and Dad. I'm going to a Catholic high school. The reason I stress Catholic is because I'm getting enough religion. Remember, I said that earlier. I didn't need to have too much more added to my life. So over the next few weeks, maybe even over the next month or so, I spoke with a few of my friends about this, and we pretty well decided that, I'm not really sure that this is all it's cracked up to be, whatever it's supposed to be. We're not sure, but I was pretty sure I wasn't going to give it a chance. And so Mom and Dad, they kept working on me, and Grandma kept working on me. And, talk about the theme here, God never gives up. God was probably prodding them at the same time, get this boy going, get this boy going. And so, anyway, after a period of time, and I don't know if this was 6 months or what the period of time was, I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do with all of this, but I have an idea. I think I'm going to take the Holy Spirit and I'm going to box him up and I'm going to put him on the shelf right next to my Bible. That way, I'll know where he is when I need him. And so I thought, that's the perfect plan. That way, I don't have to have a guilty conscience about not doing this. And if I do this, I also won't have a guilty conscience, but I will know where I need to go for help if the need should arise. So going forward, I finished high school, went on to college, got a job, working in the union. Everything was going just fine for me. I met my wife. We dated for a short time. We got married. And here we are a couple years later. We're out on our own. We have our first child, and life was pretty good. I'm not so sure that I remember talking too much to God through that period of time. Maybe it was, hey, God, here's what I'm going to do. Be sure and bless it. And then I went on to do it, right or wrong. And so we had a child, and all of the group of kids we ran around with were all married just a short time and had a child, maybe two. And back then, religion just really wasn't very important to us. Sure, we'd go to church every now and then. If it was raining, we couldn't do anything else outside. So we pretty well focused, other than working, we focused on our social life. Who's going to have the party this week, and we would go there and we'd get all liquored up. And that was, kind of the focus of life. So life was good, didn't need the Holy Spirit. He was still up in the box on the shelf. I did move him from house to house along with the Bible. He went right along with the Bible. Didn't get much use, though. So a couple years later, lo and behold, we have a second child. And this child was sickly. And so I got to thinking, so what do we do with a child that's not even a year old and the child is sick? Well, I'm probably not going to be able to play golf too much because I need to attend to the household. I'm probably not going to be able to do too much fishing and hunting right now. And this child really changed our life. Of course, we had everyone we knew, primarily mom and dad and grandma, and then their extended crowd. They were all praying for Jackie. And I remember bargaining with God when she was in the hospital. And she was in, it's today what we would call an ICU. I don't know what it was called back then, but the kids in there were really sick. And I went down and saw her a couple of times, but my wife was with her almost all the time. Anyway, I went down and saw her a couple of times, and I was horrified by what I saw in the ICU or in that space with all the other little kids, how sick they were. And I began to think or wonder, perhaps, could my kid be that sick? And these people's conversations, you know, the other parents, their conversations were whether their child was going to make it or not. Well, that thought never crossed my mind, but it did now. And I started to worry about it. So I do remember going home that night, and I was by myself, and I told God that I would go to church every Sunday from now on, no matter what. I made a commitment. Prior to that, there was no commitment. I also said that I would tithe. And whether I made it to church or not, the check would be mailed in. So I thought, well, I did what I needed to do. So God, now you do what you need to do, make that child better. So it wasn't until later that I was told that I really can't bargain with God, or I can't make any deals with him. He wants to make that child better more than I want that child to be better. Sure enough, she got better. So of course, we were grateful, and we thought, wow, I see where this power is. This power they were talking about, the power in prayer, the power in having the Holy Spirit there with you. And so we started, quite feebly, we started a little bit more of a diligent religious life, maybe. I don't know that religious is the right word, but we surely were changing the way we had lived before that. Once again, God never gives up on us. Going forward, I'm going to fast forward a whole bunch of years now. Going forward, we ended up having another child, and we started raising our family. So the kids grew up, and we went, whatever it is that families do. We went camping together, and we went on vacation together, and we had to move into a bigger house because the house was getting too small, all of those kind of things like that, and life went on. And we were busy. At this point, we got to the point where we were too busy to pay attention to God. God was still there. I may not have been there, but he was still there. And we went through this through most of the years that our kids were growing up. We sent all the kids all through, Catholic schools, all the way through high school anyway. We did all of these kind of things, which I thought was adequate. That's what we need to do. And we need to do more, of course. But I was content with the path that we were on. I think I knew where the path was that God intended me to be, but I always focused on how far away from the edge of that path can I wander before I got myself into too much trouble. Kind of like pushing the edge of the envelope with your parents when you're a little kid. So we're now, All of our kids are gone. They've all left the house. They're all healthy. They're having their own families. They're having their own kids. And life is pretty good. So some 15 years ago, give or take a year or so, I was preparing for retirement. And I remember sitting down with myself on more than one occasion saying, I did this, I did that, I saved up this, I invested in this, I'm all prepared for my retirement. My retirement is going to be when I'm, whatever the age was at that time. And everything was pretty well planned out. It was pretty well laid out, and everything was just fine. And God was part of my life, but he surely wasn't in the front. He was in the back of the bus, not the front of the bus. And then, lo and behold, I lost my job. And I was quite surprised how on earth could anyone let me go? I mean, let the guy across the hall go. Not me. I mean, I'm too valuable for you to let go. So it didn't work. They let me go. So over the next couple of weeks, I guess, maybe the next month, I was kind of noodling on, well, what am I going to do going forward? I'm too young to be retired, and any kind of funds that I had set aside, I'm surely going to burn those up right now. So, God, I mean, what's the deal here? You said that you would be with me, blah, blah, blah. All of those typical kinds of things that now I'm challenging God on. And it became clear to me that God came to me and said, he laid this upon my mind, or however it was that it was clear, but I knew it was him. And he said, never once have you said to me, what should I do, God? You always came to me with your needs, whatever your need was, and you stacked them all up and you said, bless them. You didn't really want my opinion on it. You just wanted me to bless it. And, I know I replied back. I said, but God, I mean, you're number one in my life. You're important to me, all of this kind of thing like this, And he said, I will restore you, but your job now is to go to work. And I kind of sort of figured out he would restore me. I figured that comment out, but what do you mean go back to work? I just got laid off. Or by now it may have been a month that I've been laid off. I'd love to go back to work. And all he kept saying was, your job is to go back to work. To be more exact, the job was to plow the fields. Both of my parents came out of farm families, so I clearly knew what that phrase meant: go back to work and go back and plow the field. So I did that, and I finally, for the first time, got myself involved in a prayer community, to where we met on a weekly basis. And I started learning. I started studying. I started paying way more attention. But the interesting thing is I was with other people like you all right now, and we were all sharing our stories. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what is going on here? Have I been asleep at the wheel for all these years? Apparently so. Felt good about myself, but apparently I had been asleep at the wheel. So we continued on down that path. At this point in time is probably when I got involved with the Renewal Center. And I didn't really go down there and volunteer or sign up for anything. It's just kind of one of those things that just kind of happens. You get involved here, someone asks you to do this, you do that, and then you say, well, I can do this. Well, I can surely get involved, or I can get engaged, that kind of a thing like that. So I got way more active at our parish at that point in time. I started at that time to give God the, give him his due, I guess, to give him the credit and not me. It wasn't what Dan was doing. It was what God was doing through me or for me. But looking back over all of those years that I missed out on something. I mean, I'd go to a prayer meeting out at, say at Visitation Academy. I'd do it once a year, or twice a year at the most, surely not weekly by any means. And so I look back over all the years of how much that I missed out on, and I would always convince myself, well, I was too busy raising my kids. They had to play ball, they had to do this, they had to do that, we had to go camping, we had to do all of this other list of things that we had to do. And God was pretty much kind of like, bless us the Lord, and these are gifts, get it done. Okay, we'll say the rosary. Hopefully we can say the rosary in 5 minutes, and we can get back to doing what we're doing. That was surely showing no reverence to God. It was, meeting the letter of the law. Put a stamp on it, I did this. So, anyway, backing up about a half a step, a moment ago I made a comment that God made it clear to me that he would restore me. And I had been out of work for about a year, and I'd been picking up some odd jobs. I'm a consulting engineer by trade. So I was picking up some odd jobs. I'd get a week's worth of work here and a week's worth of work there. I remember saying, God, I know you said you were going to restore me, but we got to get with this. I'm burning through way too much of my own money without earning any more money. And it kept coming back to me that he would restore me. And I'm like, boy, oh boy, this, I need to know what your schedule is, God. I mean, this has taken forever to get this done. And at the end of the year, the end of the first year, I had made about 40% of my targeted goal. And I'm like, oh, this is not going to work too well, God. I said, I'm going to keep this up. I'm going to be out of money in no time at all. But, I did keep up with all of the prayer. I did keep up with our prayer group. There was a couple of confidants that I had in the prayer group at the time that I would share some of these more personal feelings and thoughts that I had. And of course, I got a lot of encouragement from them, and it was all pretty much, just talk to the Lord every day. Tell him what's on your platter every day. Tell him what's on your mind. Just get engaged with him. He just wants to talk to you. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to hit a home run. He likes the water boy just as much as he likes the guy that hits the home run. Just stay the course. And he'll never give up. Of course, how many times have we heard that? God will never give up. Have I given up in the past? Absolutely. I've abandoned him so many times. And at the end of that second year, since I got laid off from a job, I made 60% of my income from when I got laid off. And I thought, well, it's moving in the right direction, God, but it is not moving fast enough. Well, the end of the next year, it went up again. The end of the next year, it went up again. Anyway, by the time 6, 7, 8 years had gone by, now I'm hiring people to help me get all the work done. And I tried to stay focused on giving as much as I could to the other people to do the work so I could still not lose my focus or my time that I would or could or may spend with God. And once again, as I'd mentioned a few times already, getting involved in a prayer community was so helpful with that because they just kept preaching, to stay the course. Even when you don't feel good, even when you don't have that good feeling about you, God is there. He is there with you. You stay the course, just keep plowing the field. But throughout all of this, you know, I'm in my late 60s now, and I wish, like I'm sure many of you, wish you'd had the maturity that you have now, you know, 25 years ago or 35 years ago. Would we have done things differently? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a slow learner. But wrapping this thing up, I have something that I want to read to you. This was a letter that my grandma gave me, my goodness, 40-something years ago. I don't know if she wrote the letter or if someone gave it to her, but it was good enough for her to pass it along to me and I to you right now. So as the letter reads, "Dear friend, I just had to send a note to tell you how much I love you and how much I care about you. I saw you yesterday as you were walking with your friends. I waited all day hoping you would want to talk with me also. As evening drew near, I gave you a sunset to close your day and a cool breeze to rest you. And I waited, but you never came. It hurt me, but I still love you because I'm your friend. I saw you fall asleep last night, and I longed to touch your brow. So I spilled moonlight on your pillow and your face. Again, I waited, wanting to rush down so that we could talk. I have so many gifts for you, but you awakened late that next day and rushed off to work. My tears were in the rain. Today you look so sad and all alone. It made my heart ache because I understand. My friends let me down and hurt me so many times also. But I love you. Oh, if you would only listen to me, I really love you. I tried to tell you in the blue sky and in the quiet green grass. I whisper it in the leaves on the trees and breathe it in the colors of the love songs to sing. I clothe you with warm sunshine and I perfume the air with nature's scents. My love for you is deeper than the oceans and bigger than the biggest want or need in your heart. If you only knew how much I want to help you, I want you to meet my Father. He wants to help you also. My Father is that way, you know. Just call me, ask me, talk with me. I have so much to share with you. But I won't hassle you. I'll wait because I love you. Your friend, Jesus." Thank you.